This is a communication I'm going to give you. This is what we're going to do. And if you're in, awesome, let's do this. But if you're not, then please tell me now before we go create this partnership.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Path. I'm your host, Jim Lee, and I'm super excited for you guys to be here with us. This show is about an investor's journey. It's more than just the highlight reel. It is about the real raw path an investor must go through to achieve their desired vision. Whether you're a beginner investor or a seasoned pro, we're here to deep dive into the wins, losses, the lesson, and what it really takes to be a successful real estate investor. I have an exceptional guest with us tonight. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Casey Gregersen.
So Casey is a rock star here at Owners Club, which is the highest level of mastermind group Casey Morby has created. He's been teaching classes within our community, educating, and just bringing tremendous value. So Casey, can you please give us a context into your background and how you got started into real estate investing?
You bet, Jim. Appreciate the intro and love what you're doing, man. I love how you're digging in, not just like high level, like the journey. That's really cool, man, because people need to hear that. We didn't get to where we're at today just winging it, or our parents didn't give it to us, right? I think most people worked so hard to get here, so I love that. So yeah, so my background, I actually grew up in Wyoming. Not everyone knows that, and my market where I invest right now today is in Wyoming, and I do the surrounding states, but I actually live in Houston and do everything from long distance. So the way that came about was I grew up in Wyoming, bought my first property when I was going to school at the University of Wyoming in 2010, but from there I got a full-time job at a grad school with Shell Oil Company in Houston. So I was a petroleum engineer, and I started there in 2012. And so I worked that job actually for 12 years. And I had this really cool opportunity, which some people get if they work shift work. After about a year of being an engineer working for Shell in like 2013, just like all the other engineers, we went out to the field for a year. So when we went out to the field, you would work for 2 weeks on a rig or a frac package or a workover rig. Again, picture Landman. If some people have seen the series Landman, picture that. We were out there for 2 weeks working on a rig, but then I have 2 weeks off. So I did that for the year assignment, right? But I loved it so much because I was working half the year. And when I was off, right? I didn't have to open up my work computer or look at my work cell phone. Like I didn't have to do anything work-wise for 2 straight weeks. So I loved it. And I'm like, I want to keep doing this. I don't want to go back to the office like all my other engineer colleagues. Like I'm going to stay out here, because what I was doing and what I learned was I could have that extra 2 weeks to start investing in real estate. So that's what I did. When I was on my off days, we did our first house hack. Me and my wife bought a house and fixed it all up. And literally we did everything, right? My father-in-law was really handy, and we did all the work, and I learned a lot. One of the biggest things I learned is I don't want to do all the work. It's much more enjoyable when you can be the general contractor or just the project manager to put it all together. But it was really fun. I had that first rental I told you about that I bought in 2010, and I read a couple really good books. Probably some of you guys can guess. Rich Dad Poor Dad was a big one. And I started listening to a lot of podcasts. And after doing that first kind of house fix up, I'm like, we could do more of these, right? We could buy more rentals. And that's when I started doing, is finding properties that needed work, fixing them up, and holding them as rentals. And that was kind of my first entry into real estate.
So you and I share a very similar background in terms of how we got started. How I got started was in college. I thought I was going to be an engineer, but then I wanted to step out of my comfort zone and pursue a business degree because I looked up to my dad as an entrepreneur. So I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but then I didn't really start off that way, because my first job out of college, I actually worked for someone else as a company at LoopNet. It taught me everything about real estate investing. But eventually I progressed as I got into real estate investing because of LoopNet, got my first condo, and I did everything by myself as a landlord. I dealt with the tenant, toilet, and trash. Yeah, I realized I don't want to be that actively involved. I wanted to delegate the task. So I learned the lesson by doing it, just like you. So I want to ask you, when you're doing your first flip project, you say you learned a lot. Did you make mistakes? What was the lesson behind the things that you learned?
Yeah. One big thing I learned was I did all the drywall. We did refinish the basement. We put up the studs. We installed the drywall. We floated it. We sanded it. We did all of it. And it took me months to do the drywall. I was actually down there the day my second son was born, and I was doing drywall, and I was trying to get as much done as I could. And my wife's like, we need to go to the hospital. It's time. I'm like, are you sure? I told her, like, we're like 5 minutes from the hospital. Are you sure we need to go now? Don't you want to just hang out here a little longer? She got all frustrated. And then her mom came down later. She's like, you guys got to go. It's time to go, Casey. You need to stop stop. So I'm like, okay. So I went. But anyway, we ended up finishing up all the drywall. I was all done. It was all painted. Again, months of like sanding, sand it and wait and go put more mud on and then sand it and then wait. And did this for like weeks, trying to smooth it out, make it look good. So anyway, we're all done. It's all painted. And then we're installing the shower. And then we realized we were putting this really nice glass pane for the shower. But to anchor this big piece of glass, we had to cut open the wall. And I'm like, no, my walls that it took so long to do, we're going to have to cut it open. So what do? We called an actual drywall guy and he came over there. He cut it open, anchored it, put everything in there, put drywall on, mudded it, sanded it, and did this whole thing in like 2 hours. And I'm like, this took me like 2 months. And you did it in 2 hours. So that was the learning. I'm like, holy shit. And at least I know how to do it now. But now I also know that go pay a professional to do it and you can move a lot faster.
So you brought up a good point, delegate, right? That's what we always preach in these mastermind groups, and focus on your strength and find someone else who can fill in the gap, fill in the weakness. I wanted to ask you, for beginning investors, should they get some experience first to actually understand how to manage the project, actually get into the weeds of things and get some experience so that when they delegate, they can actually find someone and train them and set the right expectation? Or should they just go, you know what, I don't know much, I'm just gonna delegate?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it would be tough. I mean, you could do it, but yeah, I mean, I just from experience learning how to do it, because if you don't learn it, especially when it comes to like managing contractors, they will take advantage of you. They will smell it. They will know when you don't really know what you're doing, and they will exploit that. So I think it's super critical that you know enough. Like even I go back to like working for Shell. That's why we had to go to the field and learn it. We couldn't just be engineers sitting in Houston managing all these projects in West Texas and Alberta, Canada, and doing all in the Gulf of Mexico. We had to go out there and see it and learn it. That way we could actually help make decisions and also just build a respect. Like when you're working with contractors or working with whoever's doing it, even in sales, every one of the parts of my companies, I've done it and then I've hired it out. But then these people, when you go hire them, they respect you. They know you've already done it. But if you try to flip it around and go manage people and you've never done it, they're not going to respect you, or not near as much, or they might, but they're not deep down. They're not going to really truly respect you, want to go fight and work hard for you.
So talk a little bit about that. How did you earn that respect over time as you transition to doing everything on your own, to delegating and building a team, and eventually become the successful investor that you are today?
Yeah, it's something I'm still working on. One of my biggest goals, and I've been working on this for a couple of years, is to be a true CEO, not be in the weeds all the time, hire managers underneath me, and then call it the workers or the doers underneath them, and build out that structure. And we built a lot, and I'm very proud of where we are now, but we're still not quite where I want to get there. I'll give you the example from like on the sales team, right? Becoming a closer, and this is still something I really love doing, so I don't know if I'll ever quite give that one up. Kind of similar to Pace, right? It's still really fun to get on the phone and close deals. At the end of the day, you're like problem solving and interacting and helping people, and I really enjoy it. But that's one where I did it and I got so many reps. And now, for example, when I'm on the like no one left behind stage with next to Pace and Jamil and Ingrid, I've been doing that for years, and people are like, how do you do that so confidently? How do you do that so effortlessly? But it's reps, right? Like literally I was calling sellers for 5 years over and over and over and saying the wrong thing and making some of them mad and losing deals, right? But practicing it to where now it's pretty fun, because you can just go walk up on stage and take a call, and it's just like riding a bicycle. So it's really fun to do it. And now back to your point, now that I've hired sales team, it's really cool because they know I've done it and they know I can do it at a high level. So honestly, it's a really good recruiting tool for me to go hire really good salespeople, because they see me close and they see what I'm capable of. They see themselves being able to do that and they want to learn how to do it. So it's really helped me recruit some really good talent.
Yeah, reputation is how we learn, right?
Yep.
That's always been my thing, is that I might start learning really slow in the beginning, but if I continue to do it over and over and over, it grows exponentially. My understanding of getting everything together and actually doing it, oh man, like it's all about reputation for you. So going back to building a team and so forth, how do you set the right culture? How do you set the right expectation for your team? When you have so many projects going on, how do you manage that?
Yeah, one of the biggest tools is I read a book, I don't know if you've heard it, but called Vivid Vision. It's by Cameron Harold, and I first listened to him on Bigger Pockets podcast a while back, and he was talking about creating a vivid vision. And then I went and read his book, and it was really good about taking the time to what is your vision and what is your culture, and really thinking deep on that. And I've been through lots of different workshops where you got to take some time and really reflect and think what's important to you, and then how do you want to show up, and then how do you want everyone else to show up. But taking the time to do that and getting it on paper, it's been the biggest thing. So then at least you have something that you know you want to stand by, and then the next step is just You got to do it with your team. You got to find ways to do it on your daily meetings and just remind people. And then the next level is when you hire. We hire based on our core values. You hire and fire based on your culture and your core values. When people are applying, we say, hey, how have you demonstrated? Like ours is ownership, it's perseverance, and in humility. So we ask people how they show up and do that, because if they don't have it, well, it's a clear culture fit that it's not going to work. So at least we can screen that out before we hire them. But if we miss on it and they don't have humility or they don't show ownership, then that ultimately means we all let them go. We will literally hire and fire off of it.
Yeah. I'm going to shift gear a little bit. Talk about your portfolio. You know, you've had success. You had maybe some falls at times. Can you give us an example of times where you had great success with the deal and times where it didn't go too well? Let's touch upon partnerships. That involves with partnerships.
Ooh.
That gets a little bit juicy.
Yeah. I like that one. Oh, because yeah, this is one I haven't shared a lot. So this is good, Jim. I've learned a lot about partnerships over the years. I'll tell you that. Because when you choose to have a partnership, it is like a marriage. You have to commit to communication with them. I've just found whenever you've had partners, you got to have the right ones that really match you and really are aligned with you and have good expectations. Because if not, it could be a huge time suck. And you can get sucked into a partner, like having questions, needing things. Like I said, it's like a marriage. Like, and I had my wife be frustrated. Like, you talk to your partner more than me. She was exaggerating. But still, I was like, but it should not even be close. And I shouldn't have to spend all this time. So yeah, I've just had some partnerships over the years where, and it happens all the time, right? When you're growing, you want to go, you have people you like and you align with, but as you grow apart. And I started to realize my identity and where I wanted to go. And my partner wasn't quite aligned with that or wasn't growing the same way I was. So I always recommend that to people. It's like when you start a partnership, you got to have clear roles. And I think you should talk about off ramps from the start, meaning as we grow, hypothetically lay this out. If we want to separate in a year or 2 years or 5 years, what does that look like? And how do we keep that structure to where you've got that off ramp to where you could still make it work? I think it's super critical because if you don't talk about it up front, inevitably it will happen. I mean, there are some partnerships that continue to last, but if you're intentional of like, hey, how do we exit from this knowing that we're both going to grow in a good way, right? But how do we proactively plan that out?
That is so good. That is so high level right there. I've heard this from just savvy investors, experience, wisdom. Just people say that to me all the time. People that's like in their 50s, 60 years old with lots of experience is exactly what you said. Your mission and value has to align throughout this whole period of time. And it's okay if you guys grow different, like, you know, separately, but it's as long as you communicate with each other on that level, right? So any partnerships that didn't go well, could you get the examples where deals didn't go well? And then what happened there?
I had one where, again, it was that situation I was alluding to where like I was kind of growing. I wanted to go off and like really start to build my brand and do more deals and work. And that's the other thing too, is like I wanted to grow, right? And I was growing at a different rate than my partner was growing. Again, as you mature, now if I was in that same situation, I've just evolved and had more maturity to it. And I've been like, hey, this is what I want to do. Like I would have been more upfront from the start. But until you like go through it, you don't really know. But I remember it was really hard and awkward at the time to be like, hey, I'm going here and I don't really feel like you're coming with me or you're not hustling at the same speed. And that's another big one too. It's like if you're an investor in a high motor, like I go fast, you guys can probably hear that. I love talking fast and moving and doing a lot of stuff. I'm going to move at the speed, and having a 50-50 partnership when I move like this and you're like this won't work out, right? And also different risk appetites, right? Like some people, there's nothing wrong with that other partner that was moving like this. That was his pace and that was what he wanted. And there was no problem with that, but just got to make sure you're aligned.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you usually find your partners? Where do you go to seek out partners, potential partnerships?
Yeah.
Mastermind group, networking.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this right here today where we're at is a perfect example at Owners Club. That's one of the biggest things. This is my second year. So in the year 2, I'm like, hey, who do I want to partner with? And again, I try to stay away from let's go, you do this, I'll do this. We'll have all these different people. And I just, to me, that can get a little bit more complicated. As I mentioned, I want to have clear exits, right? I love finding capital partners that are going to bring in money to the deal. And it's very clear what they get and what I'm in charge of. And again, call me a control freak, but I've wanted to build out my own companies, even if it's just to control my time. I want to be very cautious that I don't get into another partnership where I can't control the process or I have to invest a lot more time to get things done. I just prefer like we have really clear expectations. I'm going to run operations. My property management is going to do property management. My contractors are going to do it. We're going to find the deal. But that said, I mean, if I'm always open, if let's say somebody could bring me a great deal that I can keep. But honestly, when that happens, a lot of times it's like, I want to pay you for what you did. Let's not go have a long partnership, maybe down the road. And that might be some some advice I would give to anyone on partnership. A lot of people want to just come in and like do a buy and hold, or I love partnerships to start off that have a finite end. So for example, if you're going to go fix and flip with a partner, I think that's a great idea because that project should end in 3 or 6, whatever month. It's got a defined endpoint. So you can go into it, you can define it from the start and then go do it. And then after you're done, you get to do it again. But when you do it again, you get a reset. So what I don't love is like going in, buying a bunch of buy and hold properties that you're going to hold for 5 or 10 years with a partner when you haven't worked with them for a long time. Unless the only contrary to that is I have like for my fund, right? So I have limited partners that come in, but again, it's very documented, outlined, very structured. They're bringing in money. I'm managing operations. They get X return. I do this. It's very fixed, right? To where it's not like, yes, I have to keep them updated and do investor updates, but they allow me to go do my thing and do what I'm best at. And I can keep them updated and it's a mutual win-win.
So how do you vet your partners? Because you brought up a good point. You don't want to be in a deal with them for so long that, your visions, your missions kind of change right down the road and then you don't agree on things down the road, like a couple years down the road. So when you vet a partnership, of course you can do your due diligence, background check, track record, all that good stuff. But you don't really know until you get into a deal.
Yes.
And then you don't really know until when this shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
This is a downturn.
Yeah.
The true colors reveal. You don't know if they're going to show up. You don't know how they're going to react. So how do you vet?
The best thing is to do that thing I said first and go do one deal. Do something with a finite end, right? That's always the best way. Hey, let's go work together on a fix and flip, or let's go do this. Let's take some baby steps together without getting married and creating this partnership that we have to make complicated and eventually dissolve. Let's do some little ones that get confidence, because you can do all the vetting you want, but at the end of the day, yeah, you really want to see how they show up and work. But again, to vet it, I think just due diligence, or you would do on anything else, talking to their former partners, talking to other people that they work with, are great ways to vet them. But again, I just truly think at the end of the day, you should do that and you should trust your gut to go move forward, but take some baby steps first.
Yeah. And how about raising capital? You mentioned raising capital earlier, that it's a good tool, resources that we as investors have, the ability to use OPM, other people's money. Do you just take any investors' money out there, or are you very intentional, in particular on which investor that you going to bring on board Wiki?
Yes. So we have right now an accredited fund through Bighorn Capital. So those are accredited investors only. That's the one I put the most emphasis on. I have investor relations, so we spend a lot of time on that company to find accredited investors. Again, that's another thing I've learned as I've evolved. You don't want it just because somebody's got 100K. If they don't really align with what you're trying to do, it could be a huge pain in the butt. So I think we're literally going through right now on another raise that's actually for unaccredited investors, because they're actually partnering. It's through Fractional, which allows me to bring in multiple partners on a deal. But on that one, I'm going to potentially have 50 partners. So back to your point, if that's a lot of people, could be a lot of headaches, but I like it because it's a 2-year finite investment. Okay. So we know how long we're doing it. We're offering 10%. And my big thing to them is like, hey, you get to come partner on these deals and you're going to get experience. We actually have to vote because they are active members. They have to vote on each deal and give it a green light. But then my team will be handling the operations of it. The partners all have to agree upon what we're going to do and deals that we're going to do together. We're being very intentional. Like, this is what our expectations are. This is how we're going to communicate. You've probably seen it too. I love this community, but if you get the wrong person that has these expectations that you're going to show them and give them, people will take advantage of your time. So I want to be very intentional of like, hey, this is what I'm going to commit to. I'm going to show up at these times for you and be there to help you. I might go further than that, but don't expect me to. Like, this is a communication I'm going to give you. This is what we're going to do. And if you're in, awesome, let's do this. But if you're not, then please tell me now before we go create this partnership.
Talk about the deal. How'd you find the deal, this 10% that with Fraction? Why did you decide to use Fractional to help you raise money? Because you have 100,000 followers on Instagram. It feels like you can probably raise money on your own if you want. Tell us more about the deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So before Fractional, I could only work with accredited investors. And really it comes down to my Mount Everest. So my Mount Everest is to help 100 families achieve financial freedom.
Wow.
And that's just the first step, right? We're going to go get 100 and then we're going to reset much higher, right? But a lot of those families are not accredited yet, or maybe they can't afford to get in on the deal, because my minimum on my accredited deals right now, the lowest we have is a $50,000 minimum. So there's a lot of people who want to invest, but they don't have that much, or they're not accredited. But I still want to help those people and be able to work with them. So that's why I was so excited when I heard about Fractional. I'm like, all right, here we go.
I love it, man.